So now it's 5:15 a.m. in Israel. In case anybody's here from Israel, please say hello. You get a special welcome. And well, let's get started. I want to thank Ruth Shane, who's here from Baltimore, Maryland, really a regular, one of the really stalwarts of Torah Motion. Not only comes to participate, actually has taught a few times. So really a pleasure. I want to thank her for sponsoring the program in memory of her late father, Dr. Sylvan M.E. Shane, and said she would have loved the Torah that Torah Motion offers. So thank you for your sponsorship and friendship and joining us. And Rabbi Mintz, let's get right into it. You got 29 and a half minutes on candle lighting. B'vakasha.
Shavua Tov, everybody. Chag Sameach. It's nice to be here. I want, in honor of Shavuos, in honor of learning, I want to learn with everybody today. And what I want to learn about is candle lighting. We know that basically the laws of Shabbos and the laws of Chag are the same, with the exception of the fact that you are allowed to cook on Yontif. And as an extension, you're allowed to carry as well. And part of cooking is the fact that you are allowed to light a fire. Now, we don't strike a match, but we do transfer fire from one place to the other. And because of that, it is actually permissible to light candles on the Chag. And therefore, what I want to talk about today is the following question. Usually on Shabbos, we light candles before Shabbos begins. And that's because you're not allowed to light candles on Shabbos. So we light candles before Shabbos begins, and the candles keep on going. But on Yontif, there's another option. On Yontif, the other option is that you can light candles maybe as part of the meal. You could light candles. Maybe you could ben shlicht, you could make kiddush, and then make hamotzi. I don't know if you've ever been to kind of communal Shabboses, right? Kind of non-Orthodox communal Shabboses. So they always put the rituals together, right? Doesn't matter what time it is. They always put the rituals together. They light candles, they make kiddush, and they make hamotzi. So I don't know if that's good or bad. We'll talk about that today. But what I do know is that on Shabbos, that's not an option. But on Yontif, that's an option. So what do you think about that option? So let's go at it together. And I want to share a screen with you. Here we go. What I have here for you is actually a remarkable source. There's a commentary on the tour called the Drisha. Actually, there are two commentaries, one called the Drisha and one called the Prisha. It's on the page of the tour. And it was written by someone by the name of Rabbi Yehoshua Falk HaKohen, who was a student of the Rambam. He lives in the second half of the 1500s and the first half of the 1600s. He wrote, actually, his son wrote an introduction to his commentary. At the end of his introduction to his commentary, he talks about his mother, who's the wife of the Drisha. Her name is Bela. And he says, as you see in the fifth line here, Bikia bedine nashim ubehilchos nida kimat mibale hahora. She was basically as good as the poskim were in the laws in the laws of women and the laws of nida. And he brings some customs or some piskei halacha from his mother. Look at this. This is fantastic. Ma shehir gisha b'taut hanashim b'hadlakatan hanerot b'yom tov. The mistake that the women make when they ben shlicht on Yontif. Lahadlik neirosehen shel yom tov achar shehispalalu hakahal arvis. She says that obviously in the 1500s, this custom that on Yontif you light candles when everybody comes back from shul. V'achar yitziyasa mi beis hakneses lebeisam kodem achila. She says the custom of the women to ben shlicht before eating on Yontif. V'zeh einenu nachon. This is not correct. And she explains. Ha tenach bilel yom tov shel galuyot. I understand, she says, on the second night of Yontif, this year, Monday night, shehu sveika diyoma, ve'asur lahachin miyom tov rishon lashim. So here, let's just review a halacha that we all of us, b'nei chutz la'aretz, know this halacha. And that is that you're not allowed to prepare from the first day of Yontif to the second day of Yontif. In order to protect the specialness of the first day, we don't spend all afternoon on the first day cooking for the second day. That's not nice. So therefore, she says part of that is that we don't light candles, and I'm sure that in Toronto as well, what they say for Monday night is candle lighting after 9:20 or whatever the case may be. Why is that after? Because you're not allowed to light candles. On the second night of Yontif, it's the opposite. It's not we have to light candles before a certain time. You have to light candles after, because it has to be the second day of Yontif, because you can't light candles on the first day for the second day. So she says that the reason the women make a mistake is because on the second day of Yontif, you're not allowed to prepare from one day to the next. You have to wait to light candles. So they think just like on the second night of Yontif, you should wait to light candles. So too on the first night of Yontif, you should wait to light candles. Shenohagos lidlok gam beleil yom tov rishon kei. But what follows from that these women light candles on the first day of Yontif also late, zeino nachon. V'yoter tov midina lahadlik haneros gam kein kodem tfilas arvis. It is more correct to ben shlich tomorrow night at the usual time, which means before Yontif begins. Ulekabel hayom tov b'hadlakasan, and to accept Yontif with the lighting of candles. Hakol kemo she'osim lichvod Shabbos. That is like everybody does every Shabbos. Shiei hakol muchan miyad bevo mebeis haknesas lebeso. And so therefore, when you come home from shul, everything will be ready. Hashulchan aruch, the table will be set. V'haner doluk, and the candle will be lit. Umita mutsaat, and the bed means that the table, or all the silverware and the napkins will be out. V'siyem, and the Drisha's son concludes. V'nira lefi aniyastati shahadin din ima, that the halacha follows her. V'soda baruch v'tama idit, that her reason is the best. V'amarti lahalos ala sefer bishma uchuo schein chein la, says more power to her. So the Drisha's wife says that on the first night of Yontif, you should light candles. Let's just go off here for a second. The Drisha's wife says that on the first night of Yontif, you should light candles like we do on Shabbos early, and that we should, and it's only in the second night of Yontif that you have to light candles late. Happens to be that that's our custom. So everybody tomorrow night, when you light candles early, you can say you're following the psak of the Drisha's wife. But so there are two things that are interesting. Number one is the other custom. The custom we reject. The custom that says that on Yontif you should light candles late. That on Yontif you should light candles when you get home from shul. I don't understand that. Why is that a preference? Why was there even such a custom? Just do what you always do. Why should there be such a preference? That's question number one. And question number two is, does everybody agree that on the night of the second day of Yontif, which is this year Monday night, do we have to wait till after 9:20 in Toronto to light candles? Or can we light candles early on the second night of Yontif, the same way that we light candles early on Shabbos and on the first day of Yontif. So the Drisha's wife says no. On the second night, you're not allowed to light candles early because you can't prepare from one day of Yontif to the next. Now, before we look at the answer to both of these questions, we have to remember just one thing. For us, lighting Shabbos candles, lighting Yontif candles is really a symbolic act, right? I mean, we do it, but it doesn't really give light to the house, to the room, because we all have electric lights, and most of us don't eat to the light of the candle. Some of us might have our Shabbos candles or Yontif candles on the table. Many of us don't because of the problem of muktzah of the candles. But it for us, it doesn't give light. But clearly in the Gemara understands the mitzvah of Ner Shabbos as being a mitzvah of Shalom Bayis, that it makes things, bright and easy to see, right? If people pick up their fork to eat the soup instead of their spoon, there may not be Shalom Bayis. So therefore, you have to understand that that's the significance of the Shabbos and the Yontif candles, okay? So first thing we're going to look at is whether or not there are opinions that you are allowed to light candles the second night of Yontif, to light candles early. And then we'll look at the whole discussion. Why would you make a distinction between the first night and the second night? So let us go back. 1 second. I have a question here. I was always puzzled by, okay, good. That's right. So here you go. We're going to explain all of that. Okay. So Divrei Hashla. So the Shla, Aleihem Tzien Ha'Eliyahu Rabbah. So this is again the Achronim. Nimtzayim b'chidusha v'lemaseches psachim. Zel Lishon. Okay. V'nishalti. I was asked, says the Shalah. Im rashaos hanashim lahadlik haneros biyom tov rishon shel golios. Litzorech leil yom tov sheni. Are you allowed to light candles on Monday when it's still Yom Tov Rishon for the sake of Yom Tov Sheni? Vehishavti lahatir. I said that it was permissible. Shekeshem shemutar lahadlik neros beis hakneses b'Yom Tov Rishon litzorech halayla. Just like you are allowed to light candles in shul on the first day for the night, ve'eno nikra ner shel batala, sharei yesh bahadlakaso mitzvah ba'osa shah, hu hadin lahane nashim. So let me tell you, I don't know how many of you have been in the big Portuguese synagogue in Amsterdam. There's a tradition, and in that synagogue there are 613 candles. And that they used to light the candles in that shul because there was no electricity. So when they came to shul the second night of Yontif, they needed candles because they couldn't read the siddur without the candles. So the Shalah says, are you allowed to light those candles, say, before Mincha or after Mincha on the first day of Yontif, for the sake of the fact that when you daven Mariv that night for the second night, it'll be light to daven Mariv. And he says that that's allowed. Why is that allowed? Very simple reason. That's allowed because when you light candles on the first day of Yontif for the sake of the second day of Yontif, what does it mean? It's for the sake of the second day of Yontif. Actually, you're lighting them on the first day of Yontif, and you can use them on the first day of Yontif. They may be intentioned for the second day of Yontif, but since you can use them on the first day of Yontif, so therefore it's considered that would be allowed. For instance, that would be similar to the following case. That would be similar to the case that on Monday afternoon, you bake brownies, okay? Now you intend to use the brownies for dessert on Tuesday lunch, but you're not allowed to prepare from one day of Yontif to the next. So what do? So you make sure after you bake the brownies on Monday afternoon that you have a brownie on Monday afternoon, so that the brownies aren't only for the second day, they're also for the first day. So since the brownies are for the first day and for the second day, even though you intended them for the second day, since you ate one on the first day, it's allowed. So too with the candles. If you light the candles in shul after mincha, it's still the first day of Yontif, and it's your intention is for that night. But since you can enjoy, and you can benefit from the candles on the first day, so therefore it is considered to be permissible. And therefore the Shlosh says, and the same thing he says for the women, right? The second to last line, Hu hadin lahane noshe. Even though the bracha they make is for the night, ein bekach klum, there is no problem. Just like they make a bracha on Erev Shabbos and it's fine. Ve'adarabba, he says, and more so, it means the opposite, but more so. Ve'einayhu yoter mitzvah mimashin nohagos hanoshim she'enam madlikos ad la'achar tfilas arbis. It's better than waiting till afterwards, till after 9:20. V'yaz bevala mibeis haknesas lebeisam heim yoshvei choshech vein zen nachon be'einay. You see, Rabbi Kelman, if you wait till after 9:20 on Monday night, in a pre-electricity world, what's going to happen until 9:20? It's pretty dark, even in Toronto, by the time 9:18 comes. So what's going to happen is they're going to begin the second day of Yontif. They're going to end the first day of Yontif and begin the second day of Yontif in the dark. And that's not nice. So he says better, even on the second night of Yontif, to light the candles early. So here we go, everybody. We have two different customs. The Drisha says that the custom to light candles late on the first night of Yontif is an incorrect custom. And you should light candles on the first night of Yontif early, like we do for Shabbos. But, right, okay, so that's what he says. But he says on the second night of Yontif, you should wait to light candles because you can't prepare from one day to the next. The Shalah, which is quoted by the Lavush, says that no, on the second night of Yontif as well, you can light candles early. You're not allowed to prepare. Consider it like brownies. And that is that since you have a brownie on the first day of Yontif, since you can use the light on the first day of Yontif, so therefore it'd be permissible, even though you make a bracha, but it would still be permissible. And he says it's even preferable because otherwise you're going to sit in the dark, again, in a situation when there's no electricity. Otherwise, you are going to sit in the dark. Okay. Very good. So now what do we have? Now what we need to do is try to figure out what are these different opinions really arguing about. You have two opinions about the first night of Yontif and two opinions about the second night of Yontif. But we need to know what are they arguing about. So for that, I want to look at the Rambam. The Rambam, in the end of Hilchos Shabbos, the 30th chapter, Perek Lamed in Hilchos Shabbos, the Rambam, the Rambam in his halachos, at the beginning of the halachos, he tells you what mitzvos there are for each of the, they're going to be discussed in each of the halachos. And he says, Ve'arba'a devarim ne'emru b'Shabbos. He says there are four things that are obligatory on Shabbos. Shnayim min haTorah, Ushnayim min divrei sofrim. There are two that are from the Torah and two that are only midrabanan. V'hei mefurashim al yedei hanavim. Shabbat Torah, the mitzvahs from the Torah, zachar v'shamar. Okay, the mitzvahs from the Torah is zachar v'shamar. V'shen nisparshu al yedei hanavim, those things that are explained by the Nevi'im, kavod ve'oneg. You should honor Shabbos and you should enjoy Shabbos. As the pasuk says, this is a pasuk from Yeshayahu, which is a pasuk we read in the Haftorah of Yom Kippur morning. V'karasa la Shabbos oneg v'likdosh Hashem mechubad. You should call Shabbos enjoyment. V'likdosh Hashem mechubad. You should honor Shabbos. And so therefore that's what the Rambam says. There are two mitzvos midivrei sofrim that are the mitzvah of kavod and the mitzvah of oneg Shabbos, honoring Shabbos and enjoying Shabbos. And in the next paragraph, he explains, ve'echad anoshim, ve'echad noshim, men and women, chayavim lios bebeisam, they are obligated to have in their house, ner daluk b'Shabbos. They need to have a candle that's burning on Shabbos. V'afilu afilu ein lo mayochal, even if you have nothing to eat, shoel al hapsachim v'lokech shem. Even before you worry about eating, you have to have a candle. Umadlik is haner shezeh bichlal oneg Shabbos, and you light the candle. Obviously, you light the candle before Shabbos, but that is part of oneg Shabbos. And then the Rambam says later, you have to get ready before Shabbos. You have to have a candle that's lit and a set table, umita mutzas, and the table should be all set with all the napkins and things. The Rambam has he mentions lighting a candle twice. The first time he mentions lighting a candle, he calls it oneg Shabbos. And the second time he talks about lighting a candle, he calls it kavod Shabbos. Reb Chaim Brisker, and just let me tell you a minute about Reb Chaim Brisker. Reb Chaim Brisker, Reb Chaim Soloveitchik, the rabbi of Brisk, the Rosh Yeshiva and the Baloshin Yeshiva, and the rabbi of Brisk. So he was obviously the he was the creator of the yeshiva movement and the yeshiva way of learning that we have today. And he wrote one book, a commentary on the Rambam. But because he was so important, so his shiurim were collected in a book, in a word that we don't even use anymore. They refer to it as the stencils. The stencils basically means the Xeroxed pages. So they have all his shiurim on these Xerox pages. So in his book of Chidushim that they still call the stencils, Reb Chaim Brisker says the following. It says, why does the Rambam tell us that there's both, why do you have to light a candle because of kavod Shabbos and light a candle because of oneg Shabbos? Why does it mention it twice? Just tell me once, you have to have a candle. I got it. Candles are important, right? Nobody wants to sit in the dark. It's bad for family life to sit in the dark. That's an important psychological lesson from the Rambam. But why twice? So Reb Chaim Brisker says the following thing, which will explain why we do what we do on Yontif. Reb Chaim Brisker says that the mitzvah of kavod Shabbos is to prepare for Shabbos. That means that you need to take a shower and put on your nice clothing and shine your shoes and set the table and do all the things before Shabbos. That's called kavod Shabbos. Oneg Shabbos is to enjoy Shabbos on Shabbos. Oneg Shabbos means that you have to have cholent. Oneg Shabbos means you have chicken soup. Oneg Shabbos means you take a nap. Oneg Shabbos means you spend time with your family. That's on Shabbos itself. The mitzvah to have a candle is both kavod Shabbos, that you have to have a candle, but we light candles before Shabbos, for Shabbos. But it's also oneg Shabbos, because on Shabbos itself, you don't want to sit in the dark. So you need a candle on Shabbos. That distinction between kavod Shabbos and oneg Shabbos, between what you do before Shabbos to honor Shabbos and what you do on Shabbos to honor Shabbos, can be expanded to Yontif. The same, even though the pasuk in Yeshayahu talks about Shabbos, the same rules seem to apply on Yontif, and that can help us understand the Drisha's wife and the different customs regarding when we light candles. The Drisha's wife says that there was a custom in Poland in the late 1500s to light candles on the first night of Yontif late, when everybody comes home from shul. Why? Because obviously they believed that lighting candles on Yontif, lighting candles generally is a fulfillment of oneg Shabbos. Now, on Shabbos, you have no choice. You can't wait to light candles on Shabbos. You have to light candles early because it's Shabbos. But on Yontif, when you have the opportunity to light candles, so then you should light candles late because it's part of Oneg Shabbos. It means all those federation dinners where they light candles, then they make kiddush, and then they make hamotzi. They have it right. That's what that custom is according to that. As part of Oneg Shabbos, it's part of the rituals of Shabbos. Now we can't do it on Shabbos, but on Yontif you can do it. That's that custom. Says the Drisha's wife. That's wrong. That's wrong. That lighting candles is both Oneg Shabbos and Kavod Shabbos. You're right, you need the candles burning on Shabbos, but you need to light them before Shabbos because it's also Kavod Shabbos. That's the way we prepare. And on Yontif too, it's Kavod Yontif. And therefore we light them early. So the candles can both serve as a way to honor Yontif before Yontif and on Yontif itself. And that's why the Drisha's wife says that on the second night of Yontif, I would have preferred that you lit them early as well, because I want to have Kavod Yontif, right? So therefore, I want Kavod Yontif. I want to celebrate the Yontif ahead of time as well. I want to prepare for the Yontif ahead of time as well. The second night. The only problem is you can't do it because you can't prepare from one night to the next. So the Drisha's mother actually is taking a stand that Shabbos and Yontif candles are both kavod and oneg, and therefore it's better to light them earlier. Now, the Shalah says that on Yontif you should light the candles. Yontif Sheni, you should light the candles earlier, meaning that he agrees with the Drisha's wife. He says, yes, you should light. Yeah, there's a Kavod Shabbos. There's Kavod Yontif. You should light the candles earlier, not wait for the ritual right before Kiddush and right before Hamotzi. But he disagrees that there's a problem the second night. The idea of lighting candles early is so important that even on the second night of Yontif, you should light candles early. And there's no problem because it's like brownies. You can light candles on the second night of Yontif. So what we saw tonight is that that there are two different customs about when to light candles on the first night of Yontif, and two different customs about when to light candles on the second night of Yontif. Whatever you did last Yontif, you should do this Yontif. But on this Yontif, at least you'll understand what you're doing. And may we all both enjoy Yontif, that we should honor it with Kavod Yom Tov beforehand, as well as Oneg Yom Tov. We should enjoy the Chag on the Chag itself. Shavua Tov, everybody. Chag Sameach. May we all enjoy the experience of Matan Torah together. Thank you so much, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. You, of course, didn't discuss the third view of not to light candles at all on the second night of Yontif.
Yeah, I don't get involved in that.
I understand that. That's another share. We're not going to. We're not even going to mention it.
I was limited to 28 and a half minutes, so I know my time.
I understand. Okay, Adina, are you here?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, well,
hello, Adina.
Hi, hello. How are you, Rabbi Adam? Good to see you.
Okay, we provide a social platform, not just a learning platform.
Absolutely.
Okay, Rabbi Yashikoach, thank you. Twice in 1 week, and Shavua Tov and Chodesh Tov.
Bye-bye.
We should have light for in the world. We need lots of light.
Amen.
Okay. Adina, it's still 10:44, so I'm not going to let you.
Okay.
Everybody can stretch, finish the wine from Havdalah if you haven't had a chance yet. Okay. So New York, you've been over Shabbos for a long time already. By the way, lech benching in Toronto is not. It was 8:32 this week, so 9:20 is still too early. That it was anyways for those.
I figured as much.
Yeah. I think it was 8. Right, Tova. When was lech benching this week? 8:32. Okay, so it'll be 8:34 or whatever on Shavuos. Yeah. Okay. Rabbanit Adina, are we ready to go? 10:45. We're got 28 and a half minutes. I'll give you an extra 15 seconds. If you
okay. 1 second. Okay. Someone just texted me. They wanted to zoom in.
I'll take care of it. You know.
Okay.
You speak.
There we go.
Barry,
so Shavuot Tov, everyone.
I want to eat cheesecake.